Hello and welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing on Saturday evening. We just had to delay our podcast time because Texas and Kentucky went to OT. But our resident Longhorn, at least the parent of a Longhorn, a benefactor of a Longhorn, was living and dying with it. Anyway, joining us from New York City, where he will be attending the Knicks versus Cavs on Wednesday night, I believe, and the big opener on ESPN with our new teammates from inside the NBA. Before that is Tim Bontemps.
That was quite the intro.
I know. I'm always messing that up.
Yeah. Are those guys going to be live at Madison Square Garden on Wednesday?
I do not have that information. I should have looked it up, but I do not know. But yeah, that'll
be there. We'll see if they're there.
Yeah,
and our guy Vinny Goodwill will be there.
Our man Vince Goodwill. By the way, he announced that he goes by Vince. Have you ever called him Vince or heard anybody call him Vince?
I call him a lot of things. Vince ain't one of them.
And when I text him, I put Vince in quotes because I thought that was a ridiculous thing. Joining us from a very pleasant, very satisfied and happy Dallas living room. Actually, it's his office. Is Ben MacMahon.
Howdy, partners. Old Horns made me sweat out a hideously ugly one, but tell you what, mean green, bowl-bound baby, 6-1, blew out the UTSA Roadrunners today. Old Mike Wright texted me from his San Antonio home, talking a little trash this morning. I invited him to make a friendly wager on that game, and his wife would not allow him to. His wife is a lot smarter than Mike, which ain't saying much, but she is.
Well, guess what I did on Saturday afternoon, gents?
Oh, I know, but tell us.
I went to a college basketball game, which I'd usually do about once or twice a year.
Big band, we're about to have a new discovery. Add it to the list. We got Victor Wembanyama, we got Chet Holmgren, we got a lot of luminous discoveries by Brian Windhorst over the years. Brian, who's the latest discovery?
He's been on the list. This is just continuing.
It's true. This actually is a prior discovery from Paris last year. That's correct.
Excuse me. Today was Anis Dybantsa Jr.'s first college game. I didn't see you two there.
No?
See, there we go. We're
being
fancy, pulling out full names for the discovery. We gotta hype up the find.
His dad, who was profiled in the Washington Post on Saturday, by the way, his dad asked me to. His dad's nickname is Ace. I've always known him as Ace, but his dad's name is Anis Dybantsa Sr. There's a T on the end, but it's silent. And so he requested that I let people know that his name is Anis. I think he'll still go by AJ, and I think his dad will still go by Ace. But AJ Dybantsa, I watched him. The BYU Cougars played an exhibition game at Nebraska at noon on a Saturday. They had a decent crowd, all things considered, for that exhibition game. And they actually won the game by a point, which was an upset because BYU is ranked 8th. I'm not sure which poll has them 8th. Maybe it's the AP poll. I don't know. AP poll, preseason 8th, but it doesn't count. But I watched AJ Dybantsa play his first college game. There were I didn't see this many teams there, but the fine folks at Nebraska told me that there were 14 NBA teams that requested credentials.
I was going to ask you that. Now, also, to be clear, did you go as a ticket buying or ticket getting fan, or did you go with a media credential?
Excuse me, sir. I was working.
Okay, I'm just asking.
I was working media member.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to go see. I got to meet AJ and his dad last year in Paris, and I've kept in touch with them. And I wanted to go see his first game. And he was, especially considering it was his first game, 18-year-old first game, he was damn impressive. His stats sort of speak for themselves. He had 30 points. Not sure how many rebounds and assists he finished with. I'll check that. But he had, in the first half, he had 19 points in 15 minutes.
30 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 10 of 19 from the floor. And, I just watched the little highlights on Twitter, but big, athletic, with touch and ball handling skills ain't a bad combination.
Yeah, and Nebraska is not an awesome team, but they're a quality team. They won that postseason event they call the Crown that Fox Sports created last year. They did win that. I was looking around to see if they had the gall to hang a banner, Lakers style, but I did not see a banner. Maybe that'll be rolled out on opening night. Like we're going to see from the Thunder here in a few days. So what I will say about him not being someone who leads the league in player evaluation, that's not what I do, although I did talk to some scouts there. So one of the things I'll say about him is that he plays multi-positions. I guess technically he started at 4, but he would bring the ball up regularly, especially when they had a dead ball situation. He would bring the ball up. He whenever he got a rebound, he definitely brought it up. They don't run tons of stuff for him, but when they do run stuff, he plays with his back to the basket. He'll catch the ball in the mid post. And I also watched him his pregame. He through his pregame warmups, he went through post catches and turnarounds, and he took a couple of turnarounds in this game. He wasn't successful at him. He was much better shooting the 3 ball. Mm-hmm. But he hit a couple of spot up threes. He took some pull up threes, which were not his best shots in the game. But one thing that I noticed right away is he has a nose for getting to the line. So he played something in the mid 30s in the minutes of this game. He played, regular season minutes, and he got 8 free throws, got the line, got 4 shooting fouls. He definitely looks to get to the line, and he will get to the line. There were some times where they ran some stuff for him, but basically, in talking to the BYU folks, maybe later on in this season, he'll be like sort of the centerpiece of everything. But early on, they just want him to sort of be in the flow. My point is, the whole situation, while it is basically set up around him, I mean, BYU is where they're at because of him. They don't operate the team that way, at least not in their first exhibition game. Mm-hmm. I will say, there were growing pains. There was one point where he got into like a bit of a minor shoving match with one of the Nebraska players, and he lost his man going down the other end of the court, and he gave up a 3. Another time, they were in the middle of giving up a run, and he kind of broke off a play and put his head down and tried to just score, and he ate the shot. They blocked his shot. And there was another time where he had a good hard-nosed player, Sam Hoiberg, Fred Hoiberg's son.
Oh yes,
but I don't know what they're listed as, but I think there's a good chance that Sam Hoiberg is a full foot shorter than AJ Dybantsa, and he didn't take advantage. He had him, and he just sort of gave it up.
Old Sam ain't tall enough to ref an NBA game.
Definitely not.
Oh, wow.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not trying to say that I am by your standards, but no, definitely not Sam. But they love him. They love Sam. So, but this guy is I mean, he's smooth. He's got great size, big wingspan. Again, I'm watching him for one game here. I don't have volumes of notes like how he played last year in. I think he played in Hurricane. So like near St. George, the prep school he was at in Utah. So maybe I'm saying stuff that all these other scouts know all about, but he wanted to rebound the ball, and he wanted to challenge shots. Like he looked like he wanted to. So the scouts, a couple of the scouts who were at this game that I know have been in the Midwest for a couple of days. Creighton had an exhibition game on Friday night, and before that, a couple of them went to see Kansas practice, and they were talking about Darren Peterson, who was the other Darren Peterson, who was the other strong candidate to be number 1 pick, and that was just a practice, but they were like, these 2 guys are big time studs.
There might be a couple. There's a couple guys besides them too. There's Cameron Boozer at Duke. There's Nate Amen at Tennessee. Chris Senak at Houston is a really big time prospect. Mikael Brown at Louisville. This is a loaded draft, and not just the top couple guys. Like, even if you get the 4th, the 5th, the 6th pick this year, you're going to get, at least as of today, people think, a really good player. So, there's a lot of talent. It's going to be an interesting year to watch. And certainly as of now, the 1 and 2 guys are AJ and Darren. And it's going to be a very fun year to see how those guys develop and how some of these other guys develop. And there's going to be another handful of NBA teams hoping to lose as many games as possible to have the right to have one of them on their team next year.
The interesting thing, and again, I am not a shoe guy. That's our old compadre Nick DePaula's territory. But the scouts were telling me that the word on the street is, he's wearing Nike right now, but I don't know the status of the contract, but the scouts were telling me that there's a chance that there's going to be a shoe swap. And I asked Ace. Ace is his dad. He goes into this in the Washington Post article, but he does have a marketing agent that he's working with, who's helped him with some of his marketing deals. Like, I know he's got a deal with Red Bull, for example, but he doesn't have an agent. And the plan is not to have an agent. And
just this year or going to the NBA?
I don't have to tell you.
Wow,
right now, I don't think the plan. I think they would say that they do have an agent, which is this guy Leonard Amato, who was one of Shaquille O'Neal's agents. He's been around a long time, a very experienced agent. He's, I think, advising them. But people feel a certain way about that. I've gotten to know his dad, Anis Senior, Ace. He's a former policeman. He was a policeman in Brockton, Massachusetts for 19 years. He's got a different background than you would normally see with basketball dads. I also met and spent some time with his mother today. I did. This is what I did. NBA scouts are not allowed to talk to the family. That's against the rules until they declare. So that's what I did today. All those scouts were there. They're not allowed to talk to the family where I am. And so I met his sister Jasmine, and I met his mother. His mother is born and partially raised in Jamaica, which there's so many NBA players who have Jamaican heritage.
Yeah.
And so his dad is of Congolese descent, which is what Victor Wembanyama's father, Felix, is. I'm getting to the age where I know the dads. It's not a great age.
Older than the dads in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Before this podcast started, we were talking to Jackson, our esteemed producer.
This is
and we were talking to him about Eric Metcalf, the former Texas Longhorn and Cleveland Brown, and Jackson had no idea who he was, and it was hurtful to us. But so I now know these guys' dads. That's my role. But
AJ has played for Team USA though, right?
He did. He did play for Team USA at U19. He was the MVP of the U19 World Cup, which just happened over the summer.
I was just thinking the Thompson twins are apparently going to be playing for Jamaica moving forward.
That is what Ace said today. I have not spoken to anybody about that.
I'm just saying, boy.
Grant Hill and Eric Spoelstra, when I heard that, I was like, get thee to Houston and Detroit and try to nip that in the bud, because the Americans could use Ahmed and Asar Thompson. I'm not sure in 28, but maybe by 28 and certainly by 32.
I think I'm in by 28 for sure.
Yeah, you got to nip that in the bud. Not that Bontemps and I talked about this last year. how great it was to see the Bahamanian team with VJ Edgecombe and DeAndre Ayton and Klay Thompson
Not Klay.
try to qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah, not Klay, but
Klay didn't play.
No, Buddy Hield and Eric Gordon, who had Team USA experience, and they went through the process with FIBA to be able to play for Bahamas.
Yeah.
Klay didn't, because that was when Klay was obviously a free agent, and it would have been a more complicated process for him because he'd played for Team USA in the Olympics and et cetera.
Well, they almost qualified for the Olympics and didn't, but he did say that. Yes, AJ has played. I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, if AJ wanted to play for the Bahamas, he probably would be allowed to, because Jamaica. He probably would be allowed to, but Grant Hill should get on that too and make sure that gets nipped in the bud.
Yeah, usually if you haven't played for the senior national team, but you've played for lower levels, they'll give you a one-time switch.
Especially if you're not going to play for like America or
if you're not going, exactly. And my friend and former colleague Jesse Doherty wrote that story on Dybantsa's dad. You should go check it out. Washington Post.
Ace was pretty happy about it. So I'll take off my college basketball evaluation hat now, but I was happy to be able to drive over to Lincoln today to go see AJ play, and I predict he's going to have some big time scoring games this year. Because one thing I can just tell you,
when Wendy makes a prediction,
I'm glad we got through 12 minutes of breakdown of an exhibition game to declare that AJ Dybantsa is going to score in college basketball games.
Hey, this guy is making like $6 million in NIL money.
Discovery, MacMahon. We have discovered AJ Dybantsa.
What's big scoring in a college basketball game? If you score 20, it's considered a big.
Listen, buddy, you're the one who just declared the guy who's going to be the first or second pick of the draft is going to score a lot of points in college games. You deserve to get poked out. I'm going to tell you
that I don't think BYU's bench is going to blow teams out of the water. So I think AJ is going to get a lot of minutes and score a lot of points, is what I'm telling you.
They spend all that NIL on the starters, that's for sure. Ryan Smith's got to go raise some more money.
By the way, there was a guy for Nebraska, I should at least mention it, this guy named Rink Mast, who's a Dutchman.
Hell of a name.
And he made he missed all of last season with a knee injury, and he made he's 6'10".
Okay.
And he made his first 7 threes in this game.
Has Nebraska produced an NBA player since Eric Strickland?
How about Ty Lue?
Oh, okay, he's since Strickland. Pietkowski. They've had a few.
There's been one more recently, but I forget.
They had a big guy. Anyway,
I was talking to some of the scouts, and they were like, "Man, I mean, he's 24-year-old, but he's 6'10". He shoots threes." I was like, "This guy's going to make a lot of money." I don't know about in the NBA, but he's going to make a lot of money somewhere. So I should mention that I did. And by the way, he scored 31 points. So Dybantsa did not lead the game in scoring.
Rink Mast also likely to have some big scoring games this year, shooting the 3-ball apparently for Nebraska.
No, I did not say that. Okay. By the way, let's go look at college basketball's leading scorers. What was college basketball leading scores?
Well, no, because there will be some guy from
Let's not do that.
There'll be some guy from Oakland University in Detroit.
Let's get back to talking about the NBA. We've had a good diversion with AJ Dybantsa. We don't need to go.
By the way, the Dybantsa shoot thing's interesting though.
The leading scorer in the NCAA last year averaged 23 points a game. So you think that I'm saying this guy scored 30 in his first ever college game? He might potentially do some special scoring things. Is what I'm saying.
We will grant.
We are aware. We are aware. We're glad you've discovered it.
So BYU is a Nike school, I take it?
It is.
Okay, but Cooper Flagg has had his New Balance deal. He had his New Balance deal before he went to Duke. But because he went to a Nike school, he did have to wear Nike at Duke.
Okay.
Despite the fact that he was already a New Balance, endorsement guy.
And AJ Dybantsa, like Cooper Flagg, is a guy from the Northeast, from Boston, where New Balance is located. I have no idea if he's going to New Balance or not, but it is interesting.
Good reporting there, Bontemps. That might, in fact,
be a discovery.
What the speculation. Yes, I don't besmirch somebody who's maybe does good observations.
I literally had no idea that was what the reporting was.
Well, it wasn't reporting. That's just what the scouts. No,
well, I'm saying I didn't until 3 minutes ago. I didn't know AJ Dybantsa was debating changing shoes.
Well, I said to his dad, the scouts think he's going to Nike, and he said the scouts should more worry more about their evaluation than what shoes he's wearing. So that was the official comment. He was wearing Nikes today because
let's tell him to come to Windhorst for the official discovery his prospect status.
I'm just saying, I went to his first college game and scored 30 points. What do you want me to say?
Listen,
it wasn't like they were playing a Division III team.
If you ask Wendy for shoe advice, he'll be wearing them on cloud.
Yeah. All right, Bontemps, on Friday, you went to see the Philly 76ers play, and for the first
discovered
time,
Joel Embiid on the court.
That's a real discovery.
Like the Loch Ness Monster.
Joel Embiid, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, Tyrese Maxey. It was a fun. Johan Berenger, rookie center for the Wolves, who was pretty impressive.
He's got something. I don't know how much he's going to impact this season, but I think that guy's going to be a player.
I think he's going to be their backup center right away. Like, I'm not saying he's going to play 30 minutes a game or anything, but he plays super hard. He's really bouncy. He's going to be able to carve out a role playing a few minutes off the bench, catching lobs, I think, for them.
I was talking to a scout who was not a Timberwolves scout from another team in the West today who was raving about Berenger's potential. And one thing he pointed out was that he blocks shots with both hands, which is not as common as you might think, and said it's because this guy's played more goalie than he has basketball. He was a soccer goalie primarily.
Oh, soccer goalie.
Yeah, soccer goalie primarily.
Is there a goalie in handball?
I think so. I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
I didn't know he was a soccer player.
Handball is big in France.
But he's one of these like very athletic, springy 7-footers who didn't play basketball until well into his teens.
Yeah, he's super interesting.
Joel Embiid didn't play basketball well into his teens either.
Yeah. But yeah,
it was 10 years later won the MVP.
It was a fun game at Philly.
Yeah,
Jalen. I mean, all the Wolves guys had played the night before in Chicago. All the starters, so none of them played. But Jalen Clark, who's got a chance to fill in for some of Nickeil Alexander-Walker's minutes, had some moments on the wing. Berenger looked good, and yeah, obviously the main story was really good game for VJ Edgecombe. Nick Nurse basically said he's going to be starting next to Tyrese Maxey. He's had a very good camp. You talked before, Brian, about how people in Philly are very excited about VJ Edgecombe. I can also say people in Philly are very excited about VJ Edgecombe, and he's going to have a big role for them.
I saw VJ Edgecombe's first NBA game as well. Does that mean anything to you?
Which one? Because I saw his first Summer League game, baby.
Well, I didn't say.
Competing discoveries. Quentin Grimes looked good shooting the ball. But yeah, obviously the big story was Joel Embiid playing his first real game since February, when he ended the season, I think February 22nd, after playing the Nets. And he looked pretty good. Moved around pretty well. Wouldn't say it was a perfect performance. He was doing a lot of throwing the ball halfway down the court and watching his teammates catch up to it, because he's got a whole bunch of guys now who can run really fast. And so he did a lot of chilling and letting him run down to get layups and dunks, which I appreciated as a guy who's now old, playing pickup occasionally.
You see me play pickup. My favorite way to contribute: grab a defense rebound, make an outlet pass, observe, see if I need to leave the.
It was a lot of big man like play.
And then we score, and I'm like, I contributed to that bucket and never had to leave the paint in the backcourt. That's glorious basketball.
But look,
if Embiid can do that, that'll save some wear and tear on him. That's for sure.
The question for me coming into this game, and we had a pretty good sense all week he was going to play, was he going to look something like he did either the second half of the 23-24 season or before, when he looked like a guy who was still an elite player? Or was he going to look like the guy who, outside of that fourth quarter against Serbia, really struggled for Team USA and really never looked good at all at any point last year for the Sixers? And I wouldn't say he was back to like a point a minute guy, but he definitely looked at least like the guy who played against the Knicks in the first round of the playoffs with Bell's palsy and still had like 30, 12, and 6 in games. And looked pretty good moving around. Didn't look like he had a brace on his knee. If he did, it was some really small one. It was not the big bulky one he had last year. And moved pretty well. Shot looks good. And I think the most interesting thing, even though Paul George didn't play, so it's a little hard to read this, was it's very clear Nick Nurse has the rest of this team conditioned to fly up and down the court at all times. And they've got a lot of young athletes, and they're also small, so they have to play fast. But it really felt like the first time in a couple of years for this Philly team that they have a consistent thing they can go to, especially when Embiid is out, and they'll have some sort of identity that they can lean on. Whereas last year, it was just a chaotic mess the whole way through. But with Maxey, with Grimes, with Edgecombe, they get Jared McCain back. They've got Kelly Oubre, who's obviously an excellent transition player. Adem Bona's a young big who can get up and down the court. Like they can play really fast and create turnovers and get out and run, which I think is what they're going to try to do a lot of to, counterbalance getting the ball to Embiid, and when Paul George is back, Paul George in the half court. But, it's like we talked about the other day. The Sixers are not, to me, a team you should look at as they've got a ceiling of catching up to the Cavs or the Knicks, but there is no pressure on them. There really are no expectations on them. If Joel Embiid can play 50 games, 55 games, and look like he did health-wise Friday, he's going to have a good season, and the Sixers are going to be, a top 6 team in the East, and it's not going to look anything like it did last year, which is obviously a massive, massive improvement.
Are we at the point where we are considering Paul George's contributions in the second year of a max deal to be almost a bonus?
I don't know if I'd say a bonus, but I am curious to see what he looks like when he gets back. I don't think he's too far away. He, I think, did some 5-on-5 practice on Thursday. He's definitely ramped up this week. I don't think he's I think, what did Shams say LeBron's target was? Mid-November?
Yeah.
Like a month in? I think Paul George should be back before then, at least assuming things go okay. But look, part of Philly's problem is he's got to be their starting power forward when he's right, and Paul George is not that big. And, I think that's going to be something interesting to see. Like, is he the 4 because he has to be their biggest player, or is he the 4 because he can't really move well enough to guard 2s and 3s anymore? That I think will tell you
it can be both, by the way. The answer could be both.
And it could be both. The other thing is every guy on the Sixers shot comically below their expected rate from 3 last year, including Paul George, who shot, I think, under 30% on open 3s. So, he's always been a very good shooter.
Building the case, MacMahon.
No, I'm just saying, if Paul George comes back
this year, baby, he has him right up there with Toronto.
I mean, as I talked about the other day, I think Toronto and Philly will probably have similar. It's not.
Remember when they were trying to keep Kawhi Leonard, and they had the Kawhi and Dine, and they said Kawhi would never pay for a meal, and they had they got dozens and dozens of restaurants.
That's Bontemps in Toronto now.
I'm sure the other things we said about Toronto have people there mad at me, but look, the Paul George situation, at this point, I think you have to be more concerned about what Paul George can give them than Joel Embiid, based off at least what we've seen in the preseason, which is Joel Embiid had a normal preseason by his standards, like it was 2 years ago when he went into the season and averaged a point a game. Again, I'm not saying he's going to average a point a game, but he had a normal preseason. He practiced all the way through. He looked good in the scrimmage. He looked good on Friday. He's ready to go next week.
A lot of it's about expectations, right? Because when you're coming off an MVP award, or you're projected to be like the Eastern Conference champs, and then all of a sudden it's he missed practice, he's out, I don't know when he's coming back. That's a problem. When you have no expectations and no one's sure whether they're going to see you October 30th or they're going to see you November 30th, and then all of a sudden you just pop out there on the court and look pretty good. Even though your situation is really just as tenuous as it was before, because I assume that on Wednesday night when they host the Celtics to open the season, that game is in Philly, right, Bontemps?
It's in Boston.
Oh, it's in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I assume that he will go through the normal pregame thing, right, where he doesn't know, and then he goes.
I don't know. I mean, you would think so, but he didn't do that on Friday. I mean, they ruled him. They ruled him in at noon. which is also unusual.
If he's playing in a public scrimmage in a preseason game, like I would hope there's not a setback between that and
Well,
by the
how
way,
can you assume anything?
By the way,
right.
you can't. But that's the thing. Like compared to a year ago, the story in the preseason about the Sixers was my story about we're gonna manage our way through the season and we got this plan to be ready for the final and for the playoffs because we're going to make a deep playoff run.
Talk about a want
Boy.
USWB story. That was a I mean, not that that's what your perspective. You just reporting.
Yeah.
You went to the Bahamas and brought that story back, and it was people were like, "What? Like, didn't they get fined based on that story?" I mean, like,
but it was
no.
It was also,
I don't think so.
Frankly,
it got fined for something else.
It was organizational arrogance to the extreme of. We're going to load manage our way to a high seed. I think they said they were going to load manage their way all the way through the conference finals, if I'm not mistaken. That's a joke, Bontemps. Relax.
I'm just listen. We get aggregated, so I'm just clarifying.
Aggregators. I'm just kidding. They didn't actually say that. But seriously, the arrogance of like, hey, Paul George will play every once in a while. Embiid will play every once in a while. We'll microwave chemistry of these guys who have never been teammates before and just go on this finals run because it's just a birthright of a franchise that hasn't been to the finals since AI's days.
Well, hasn't been to the conference finals since 2001, let alone the finals, including this whole Joel Embiid run. By the way, we didn't even talk about this before the pod. Something else happened Friday with the Sixers that we haven't discussed at all, which is at 8:15 in the morning, the Sixers announced, as with the rest of Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, that Bob Myers, our former colleague now, former 4-time NBA champion executive with the Golden State Warriors, is now running all of Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, which includes obviously the Sixers and Crystal Palace in the Premier League, and he's helping Josh Harris with the Commanders, which are not exactly part of it, but are sort of. But in our world, right, the immediate question then is, well, what is Bob Myers' role with the Sixers going to be? That made for an interesting sort of thing hanging over this preseason game on Friday night. Now, what I would say is I do not expect Bob Myers to at any point be the president of the Sixers and running the Sixers on a day-to-day basis. However, if he is officially in a job overseeing the Sixers and other teams, that would at least indicate that. And by the way, when he already had a job where he was like consulting in some vague term, now he's officially.
His arrangement, as far as I know, was that his consulting, and this was us out of respect to Daryl Morey as well, that he didn't get involved on.
After the way last year went, to then have this happen before the season, it's only going to, open up questions about what the future of the Sixers is going to be.
Is Daryl Morey reporting in any way, shape, or form to Bob Myers?
I believe the answer to that is no, according to Adam Schefter's story on Friday.
Yeah, I believe he reports to Josh Harris and David Blitzer.
Who is
I believe that does not
Myers
change
on a regular basis on all things.
I will also say this about Bob. It's been an absolute joy over the last couple of years to spend so many hours with Bob, watching these games, traveling with him.
Also part of the reason why he left us, but go on.
It might be so. I think it was more Perk. By the way, he and Perk used to get into pretty significant back and forths on air. And sometimes it seemed a little bit mean-spirited, with a little edge. Just so you know, he was Perk's agent. And got Perk negotiated Perk tens of millions of dollars in contracts. But Bob has this incredible ability to disarm situations and boil things down. He'll look at a complex situation and say 2 sentences, and you're like, that is actually exactly the situation, or that is actually.
And he's a great guy.
Daryl Morey has the opposite ability to take something you might think is simple and make it extremely complicated. Well,
that's the whole NBA.
For example, the Rockets missed 27 straight threes to lose a Game 7 at home to Bob Myers' Golden State Warriors. And next thing you know, there's this 14 trees are killed for the report on the refereeing in the game that the Rockets were complaining about.
That also is why I brought up the Bob thing in part, is that I do think it's worth pointing out that, like, I do not envision any scenario where Bob Myers is ever president of the Sixers, nor is he trying to be. Here's
the thing. Like, last year, a number of teams, some of which have been reported and some of which haven't been, came to Bob Myers and wanted him to be their general manager and offered him enormous sums of money and enormous conditions. And Bob respectfully took the meetings and then turned of that down.
Yeah.
So he was only going to, he was not going to take NBA team X general manager job. It was going to be a special job. By the way, I will say something about when you talk about making things complex or making things simple. One of the things when I talk to people, especially maybe people who are not sports fans at all or don't really understand much about the NBA, and they ask me about the NBA, I say to them, one of the things that you find out when you spend a lot of time involved with the NBA is there are certain things that happen in the league where you cannot believe the complexity behind it. You cannot believe what teams do or organizations do to vet, protect, develop, blah, blah, blah. Like 15 different layers. You're like, wow, this is unbelievable. And then at the same time, you will see things that are incredibly shallow and done without thought. And you're like, wait a minute. That team did that without doing this.
Pettiness powers some decision making for sure. I think we've all seen that.
Yes. So anyway, best of luck to Bob.
But hey, my dang!
Whoa!
I don't know what's going on. Listen, I got fancy lighting. I don't know what's going on with it. It's like the third time this thing's collapsed.
The Texas Longhorns season.
Yeah,
personified.
That and the Sixers season last year.
But the Sixers last year at this time, it was pretty much a consensus that they were somewhere in the pack of contenders. They weren't the favorites, the Celtics were, but they were considered a top.
They were supposed to be taking swings with Boston at the top of the East. That was where they were at.
And now, there's like you said, Wendy, there's really no expectations, but there's definitely still a ceiling for them. To be, I don't know, contenders feels pretty bold, but there's a ceiling for them to.
You can't say
factor in the East.
Yeah, you can't say they can be. You can't say they're contenders. You could say that if things go right, could the Sixers finish third or fourth in the East in the regular season? Sure, I could see that.
Yeah.
And then they could win a round and maybe have a puncher's chance to win two if it like high end. But no, I don't think anybody should be saying more than that. And look, if they win 44 games and have a top 6 seed after last year, people are going to go, hey, right, top Sixers on the other end. People will say, hey, that's a good season for Philly, right? Which shows you just how horribly last year went and how through the floor the expectations are now for what this team can be or should be compared to where they were a year ago.
All right. Speaking of expectations, got an email on Saturday.
Oh,
another discovery?
Memphis Grizzlies medical.
A bad discovery.
Not even the one we were holding our breath for after the preseason finale.
Well, you just had said the other day, Jaren Jackson came back from the surgery. Scottie Pippen Jr., who has really been a success story for them.
Big time. One of the great bargain contracts on a non-rookie deal in the NBA.
Is undergoing, I don't know if he's already undergone it, but they said he announced he is going to have a surgery that has a very long name, but basically they're going to take a piece of bone out of his foot.
Not great.
Great, no.
And they say a timeline will be provided.
Shams said he's going to be reevaluated in 12 weeks. 12 weeks from now is mid-January. That ain't great.
And listen, Ja has expressed optimism that he will be back for the opener. That's not a sure thing as he's coming off a sprained ankle. And then the medical report that we have not received yet from the Grizzlies is on Ty Jerome, who, a nice offseason pickup for them. Former resident of Cavs Corner who really had a great year last year for Cleveland.
But a guy who's had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, and hurt his calf in the preseason finale. And we all understand calf injuries are not
Calves are not quick. Calves are not quick.
By the way, let's real talk. What do we think the Grizzlies are going to be this year?
Hurt?
I think this every year you see a couple teams that you think, Philly's always hurt. I guess they're sort of like Memphis. Obviously not the same expectations, but you see a couple teams come into the year and they just never get right from a health standpoint, and their season does not go the way that they expected it to. And if you look at where Memphis is at, they have their pick. They have probably this Phoenix pick, like two high value assets potentially. Like they just drafted Cedric Coward last year in the first round. They're very high on him long term. Like we've talked a lot about Boston and Indy having gap years. In the Western Conference, especially, if you get in a hole early, not sure you're getting out of it. These guys could be down 3 point guards and 3 centers at the start of the season. I'm trying to think if there's a third center. Brandon Clark is out. Zach Edey's out.
Yeah.
Ja could be out. Ty Jerome could be out. Scottie Pippen's out for months. Like that's already 5 of their top, 9 guys? So, this could quickly turn into a season where Memphis winds up being in a position to jump up in the lottery and get 1 or 2 bites at what we just talked about as a really loaded top of this draft, even if it's not what they were hoping for. I think you'd agree, MacMahon, when they made the Desmond Bane trade, it's not like they were trying to be in the lottery this year. They thought they could still be a good team, but with all these injuries they've had, it's going to be really, really hard for them to get off to a good start.
Well, the Desmond Bane trade, and by the way, they had the kind of season you're talking about a couple of years ago, unfortunately, when Ja missed all but 9 games because of the suspension and then the shoulder injury that ended his season when it was just getting started. But the Desmond Bane trade was an admission that the version of the Grizzlies, that chapter of the Grizzlies wasn't good enough. You mentioned, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago in your future power rankings that you do with Bobby and Pelton. The Grizzlies, what was it, 22 when they were number 1 in those?
I'm going to go back and look now.
There was definitely big-time optimism about this franchise not that long ago. And then that core won a playoff series.
Memphis in March of 22 was first. In October of 22 was first. In October of 23 was 4th, and have gone to 12th and 17th since.
Yeah, and so the Bane trade was an admission of, hey, we thought we had something that was going to be cooking for a while, and it wasn't good enough. They were an 8 seed that got swept in the first round, and that was the reality of where that franchise was. And we can talk, well, they were leading by 29 points or whatever when Ja got hurt in game 3. Dude, okay, if Ja's healthy, it's a gentleman's sweep instead of a straight-up sweep, whatever.
Right.
They weren't nearly good enough. And they didn't make the Desmond Bane trade to get better right now. They made the Desmond Bane trade to try to reconfigure the roster specifically around Jaren Jackson Jr. And I say that it's actions over words, because the actions are Jaren Jackson Jr. got his extension the most they could give him the second they could give it to him, despite the fact that they knew at the time he needed toe surgery. Ja Morant was extension eligible this summer. There weren't discussions. There wasn't an attempt. That doesn't mean he's definitely not going to be part of the Grizzlies' future, but it's very much a wait and see type of thing at the moment. And Kleiman at Media Day, Zach Kleiman, their GM, I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said, we can all agree that this is a big year for Ja. And if the Grizzlies in this form are ever going to be a factor, Ja Morant's got to be a superstar. If Ja Morant's not a superstar, a healthy superstar, then the Grizzlies have a decision to make.
Brian, you know what I was thinking this weekend? I was thinking that my bet with MacMahon is taking some hits. because Memphis has had all these injuries, and Sacramento, which I picked over Philly in the wins pool.
Ooh.
Not looking like a smart pick. Well, I was going back and forth on Sacramento and Philly, and I know that Sacramento's not looking great on a variety of levels. Now Dybantsa Sabonis is hurt, Keegan Murray's hurt, and MacMahon is sitting here after he whined about the over/under, and I gave him a couple wins.
Well,
it's looking tougher for me out of the gate than it was a week or so ago, unfortunately.
I whine to get it lower, and I'll be whining and dining. I'm your dime, baby.
We'll see.
Just do it in
Long
Toronto.
way to go.
They'll pick it up.
That's right.
Just
do
when
it in
we're
Toronto
in Toronto
at the finals, and it'll be great.
When we're in Toronto for the finals,
Exactly.
It'll just be like wiped away.
That's right.
You mentioned Keegan Murray. I think since we did our last pod, Keegan Murray landed a contract extension
and an injury.
I think he had the injury already.
The injury and the extension were before Friday's pod, but we never really talked about it. One thing that happened since then is Dybantsa Sabonis is going to miss the opener with his own hamstring injury.
Yeah, Sabonis hurt his hamstring.
What does 140 over 5 years seem a bit rich for Keegan Murray?
So, this has been funny. So when the time we do our next podcast, we'll pass the deadline for rookie extensions.
The deadline for people that don't know, for rookie guys on rookie scale contracts and for veterans with multiple years left on their deal, is tonight. The pod's running Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
And I'm sure there will be some, but this Sacramento deal with Keegan Murray has been an interesting one. Because the average for that is $28 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some teams that are, fully locked in, they're just absolutely, there's all these meetings and all these back and forth. This happens every year. There's this tense weekend that happens right before the start of the season. A couple of the scouts who were in for the Dybantsa game this week were, hey, do you know what so-and-so is offering? Hey, well, yeah, no. I am. I'm here. You're offering this. No, that's not right. But it's close. It's close. But we have a walk away. Anyway, it's funny, the Keegan thing, because there's some agents that are like, man, Keegan gets 28 a year. I don't think anybody's getting more than that. There was some guys who wanted 30. That really establishes a cap. I'm not sure we're going to be able to get our guy more than that. All the numbers are coming down now. So-and-so might only get 22 a year. Because there's a bunch of these guys, Shaden Sharp, Christian Brown, Dyson Daniels. Who am I forgetting, Bontemps?
Tari Eason. Those are the four guys most likely to get extensions done between
and
now
all of those
and
guys are probably going to get somewhere between 20 a year and Keegan Murray's 28. I would be surprised if any of them get more than 28, but maybe some of them.
Nobody's getting more than 28. I'd be surprised if any of them get more than 25. But
we'll see. By the time this pod comes out, that'll be known probably.
Yeah,
but
the point is that this was the capper of the range of those guys.
Right. So, there's agents going, man, I just, this lowers the whole market a little bit. And you got teams going, I can't believe they gave him 28.
And I think you guys pointed this out in your Romo Witten notebook on Friday, that the Jabari Smith Jr. deal is aging pretty well already for the Rockets, and it hadn't even kicked in yet.
Yeah, and that I think could end up being a backstop for a bunch of these negotiations too. Jabari signed for 5 years, $120 million back in July. The kind of deal that usually gets done now is interesting that it got done by Rafael Stone then. I thought the Keegan Murray deal was pretty good. There are not a lot of 6'8" guys who are legitimate two-way players on the wing, and Keegan Murray's a very good shooter. He's a guy that gets up 6-7 threes a game, and I think has potential to do a little bit more if he had the ball in his hands more. Obviously, he's been on these Kings teams where he's been the third or fourth or fifth option a lot of the time for them. So I think that deal will age nicely.
He also typically never misses time. He's never he's never missed more than 6 games in a season.
Right. Now he's got this fluke thumb injury, obviously, so he's missing some time. But I he's clearly a higher pedigree player than all these other guys who are up for extensions right now. And like I thought that deal ultimately was a pretty solid.
Yeah,
I'm
look. Well, here's the thing. This is our rule. If you had to trade it tomorrow, could you trade it?
Oh yes, 1,000%.
You say he's a two-way player. I hear what you're saying. I'm just going to point out he's averaged 13.3 points per game in his career, and it was 12.4 last year. And for a guy who's known as a shooter, his three-point percentage has dropped each year.
That's true.
41, 36, 34.
That is true.
And
but
look,
he's a guy.
He's on a
guy
that funky fit because he's on a Kings team where there's a whole lot of guys who need the ball and not a whole lot who pass the ball.
But he's a quality on-ball defender at 6'8", who can guard multiple positions, and he's a guy that teams are afraid of shooting the ball.
Yeah,
like he is 100% a threat from the three-point line. Obviously, it'd be good for him to get his percentage back up this year when he gets back. But I think he's a very tradable player, and I think that's a good contract for everybody. It's good for him to lock in money. This is a solid deal for the Kings, and I think for the other teams that are negotiating, it was a good backstop because I think is clearly seen as a higher level player than all these other guys who were negotiating, which is why they're all probably going to end up somewhere between 20 and 25 if they sign over the next 48 hours or so.
Kings signed another player to a $3 million contract.
3.6.
Who would that be?
Number 18.
Number 18.
Somebody called him a journeyman.
18th.
Number 18.
18th season.
He's number 18
yeah,
now.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think it's only about his 10th team, though.
You know what the crazy thing is? I think you could maybe make an argument Russ should start right now for the Kings.
Over your future Hall of Famer, Dennis Schroeder?
No, I think with Dennis Schroeder. Because if you look at, I guess you could have him. You certainly, I think it's quite likely he comes off the bench, but with no Keegan Murray, they don't really have a lot of size. I think they started Dario Saric in their last preseason game at the 4. Russ is going to rebound, and he's obviously physical, and he's an okay on-ball defender. He gets into his guy. He loses guys, as we know, when he's off the ball. But I think with Keegan Murray and Dybantsa Sabonis out, you could make an argument to start him. But by the way, like with Keegan Murray and Dybantsa Sabonis out, again, to go back to my earlier comment about my Spurs bet, not an ideal way for the Kings, who already had a strange offseason, to start this season. And between them and Memphis,
2 Hall of Fame. If they do that, they'd be starting 2 Hall of Fame guards.
Well, right? And a Hall of Famer on the wing, or at the 4, and DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan, it's true.
But again, it's a lot of guys who need.
I think all 3 of them are getting in.
I do too. And
Tim wasn't being facetious.
Yeah,
you put seriously. But if you put the 3 of them on the floor together, especially with Sabonis, like God, the spacing is like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
it's like 1986.
It's a strange team. It's a really strange team.
We just have talked so much about, we did our West Tiers pod, the last pod we did, and we're like, grappling with each other over, where to put these teams. And these teams are all like, you're an injury away from being in trouble, I realize, but these teams we're having trouble ranking them because, even the Lakers, we're having trouble figuring out where to put the Lakers. They're potentially starting, they're going to start 2 Hall of Famers when LeBron gets healthy. And, Austin Reeves could make the All-Star team this year.
Good.
And we're
Austin Reeves will not make the All-Star team.
Okay,
I'll
he
take
could
the
make
side
the
of
All-Star
that
team.
Well, if he put
I'm going to say
he's going to get the LA boost too.
Well, no, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is the thing, right? With these new rules for the All-Star game, it's going to kill a guy like Austin Reeves. Honestly,
no,
because there's only 16. There's only 16 Americans that can make the team.
Yeah, if it was 12 and 12, it would kill them. But 16 is about where the numbers were anyway.
Let's see how many made
I'm
the All-Star,
saying,
how many
I'm
Americans
saying
made the All-Star
Austin
team
Reeves, like the LA boost, isn't necessarily going to come into play when you're just basically ranking the 16 best American players.
Right,
if Jackson Hayes gets a
see
Slovenian passport, does he count as American? or an international player?
No,
Well,
counts as international.
how do these things work? If you got a passport, you're international. I don't think it's necessarily going to come into play for All-Star games. I'm just inquiring. Also, with the Thompson twins, and
it's one of many reasons why I just think this. Again,
17 Americans made it last year.
Okay, so it's roughly, pretty close to. When they started talking about this whole thing, if it was 12 and 12,
what do we do with Karl Towns? Are we calling Karl Towns an American? Are we calling?
Maybe good question. That's a good question. Karl, I think will. I bet if we call his agent, she'll be saying Karl plays for the Dominican Republic.
Well, he does.
He's an No, I know. I'm saying he should be an international player. I would say he is an international player for them.
All right, well, I forgot to count. I miscounted. I think.
But either way, I can't. I'm already dreading the discussions about the All-Star rosters in January when it's like, we have to do a quota system to figure out who is going to make the team for the quote unquote Ryder Cup style format.
Speaking of taking something very simple and making it really complicated.
Yeah, no kidding. Yes, exactly. Exactly. But yes, Austin could have a very good year.
What are we counting?
Year.
Real talk. What are we counting Amen Thompson as? I mean, we might want to ask that question if he's going to plan on declaring.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's where this is coming from.
Listen, let's
Mr.
Texas.
And you can say
on that.
You can say, well, it's where were they born? Okay, then Kyrie Irving's international.
Also, by the way, just to flip this the other way, right? Every year, the top four or five of the top MVP candidates are international players.
Yeah, there's several no-brainer international players for sure.
Well, right, but last year, Luka didn't play in the All-Star game, so we could be looking at a scenario where we're having a quota system on the other end of it. It's completely insane that we're doing this. It's completely insane.
Well, again, it depends on a couple of things, like where you put in Karl Towns, where you put in Amen Thompson, who might make the All-Star team this year. We'll see.
Just crazy.
Speaking of international stars, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I believe, will be on the All-Star roster, and he is a Canadian.
Safe bet.
I believe you're headed up I-35.
I'm going to just take a little leap over the Red River. Up and down.
MacMahon's got a back-to-back to open the season.
I do.
Him and Mike Wright both.
Mike Wright and Mark Spears are going to be with me on both ends, too. We're triple covering both those games.
Wow. Love it.
Talking about KD and the Rockets and OKC for ring night, and then Cooper Flagg making his debut against Wemby and the Spurs in Dallas 24 hours later.
Should be a fun couple games.
For sure. By the way, did you guys see the Victor Wembanyama step through? I guess we call it a step through or a jump stop.
I dropped it in the chat last night, bro. And what did you say when I dropped it in?
Yeah, I know.
It's
sort of talking to the.
I'm like 8.
I know, but what did you say when I dropped it in the chat? What was your response?
I said it was legal.
It was legal.
One word: legal.
Legal. And he's
correct
at 18 feet and steps through into a layup, which is ridiculous. Although I'll say this.
It is ridiculous.
I've seen Shai, because Shai is a master of the pump fake pivot game. I have seen Shai go into what looks like a baseline, like a little 14-foot baseline turnaround, pump fake, step through into a layup at 6'6". So Wemby's doing this at 7 foot, whatever. But I mean, the guy was, Mike Wright had the story about his summer, like all the stuff with the monks in China got a lot of attention. But this dude went and worked with Akeem.
Yeah.
And you see it. There was a bunch
well, I never saw Akeem do that.
Well,
I saw Akeem do a lot of stuff. I did not see. Jackson, do you remember a guy named Akeem Olajuwon?
Man, God, I felt so old when Jackson didn't know who Eric Metcalf was for the pod. That was a rough moment.
So anyway, Tuesday night you'll be there at Ring Night. Ring Night is always special.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Williams will
probably
not playing, but they'll be loaded. the Thunder have just been installed as the favorites, and we haven't spent much time talking about them. But I don't know if you heard, but they're still pretty good, and they start their title defense on Tuesday. And they haven't, that I've seen, talked much about. There's some people that have, felt that, they underappreciated them last year, and they haven't leaned on that. But
I would say there are more people doubting them this year than there should be. I would say that.
But here's the deal. Sam Presti has his sit down with the media before training camp every year. And he really, shockingly, puts a ton of thought into that. And there are these marathon sessions, but he has messages that he clearly wants to get across. Remember, we've had a lot of fun in the last couple of years with we haven't finished our breakfast yet, and then they've done a lot of eating since then. And even a little bit of drinking last year.
Very little bit.
First time for
very little
both
bit.
of their JV.
The most little bit.
But
that was the driest title celebration. That said, it was great to see. They've had some low moments in that franchise, losing players, having bad luck. Most of those guys have been around for a really long time to put it together.
Yep.
So
it was awesome.
It was great to see a lot of people who worked really hard satisfied, but it was a very dry celebration.
Well, it's hard to have a championship hangover if you don't get drunk. And I don't think literally or metaphorically
that is spoken from a man who knows about hangovers.
I don't think literally or metaphorically that the Thunder got drunk on their championship. But Presti's, there's 5 words that I really took, 5 words, 2 separate phrases that I really took from his marathon sit down this month. Chasing improvement. That I think he said it multiple times. Chasing improvement is what he wants them doing this year. Not defending a championship, chasing improvement, which is just, it's boring as hell, but basically the same type of approach and mentality that they took to get to that point, then wanted to change. And then this is a great one. This is a Presti one. Builders, not guardians.
Yes. My gosh.
We're building toward this.
Yes.
We're building this year's team. We're not guarding last year's championship. I could see
Sam. I did not watch the presser. I need to go back and look at it at some point. But,
we're having a little bit of laugh.
I can hear Sam saying that line in my head.
We're having a little bit of laugh with it, but these Presti, he probably.
I'm having no laughs. I can literally hear Sam. That's like the breakfast. That's a prototypical Sam line.
They have the best culture in the league. I wrote a story about kind of their Boy Scout buying to the boring culture last year. You can say they're, call it program by Presti, whatever. They buy into the stuff that helps them improve on a daily basis. They buy into the stuff that allows them to be the youngest championship team in 50 years.
Presti had another line. I think it was, I don't say last year or the year before, but he said there's no silver platters in Oklahoma.
Yes. Yes.
Which is, that was the thing. You know what he said this year? Our colleague, our ex-colleague, David Thorpe, who was with us for about a decade, basketball skills coach. David Thorpe wrote a book called Basketball is Jazz.
Also an old line Holger Geschwinder used to use, Dirk's guru.
Oh, Holger used David Thorpe?
No, used basketball.
The line. Yeah. Basketball is jazz.
Basketball is jazz. The concept of the way jazz bands play, which is sort of a combination of, I hope I'm getting this right. If I'm not, I'll hear from Coach. It's a combination of individual, going off on your own, following a script, but going with a flow, playing as a group, freelancing, the concept of a jazz band.
Who knows that better than famed jazz rapper Sam Presti?
Right. That's right. That was a Pablo Torre thing. Anyway, this year, Sam said basketball is poker because some people say that basketball is chess, but that's not true in the NBA because in chess, everybody gets the same pieces. Whereas in the NBA, everybody has to play the hand that they're dealt differently. And that is absolutely incredibly well said.
And the Thunder have
It's a reason.
hell of a hand.
Well,
Yes.
there's a reason why
They
Sam
played
has
Go
been,
Fish for a while, and they drew a nice one.
Yeah, there's a reason why Sam has helmed that franchise in a way few people have for the last 20 years, because he sees the league in a way few people have. But
you know what?
to me,
your culture is as good as your superstar, and their culture with Shea is a lot different than their culture with Russ.
well, and look, Sam would be the first one to say that, right? Like, I mean, his formative days were in San Antonio with Tim Duncan. And like, you look at Tim Duncan with the Spurs, you look at Steph with the Warriors, you look at, Dirk with the Mavs, you look at Michael Jordan with the Bull. Like, you go back through history, like the best players are the ones who set the tone. And Sam can get up there and say whatever he wants. And I has said the same thing to all of us and would say it to anybody else. Like, it doesn't matter if your star player isn't embodying what you're trying to do and delivering it to the players and embodying it on the court and living it every day. And Shea obviously does that on a 365-day basis. And it's why the Thunder are in the position they're in. But to me, like the Builders, not the Guardians thing, like that is a very Samism, like we haven't finished our breakfast yet. But I do think chasing improvement, I think, is the way to look at their season, in that they won 68 games last year with one of the youngest teams to ever win a title, when they had a lot of injuries throughout the year. Although they were healthy in the playoffs, they had, as you repeatedly pointed out, their two centers missed combined well over half the season. Yeah. And all these guys should get better. Like, they should be better this year. They should be a team that is winning over 65 games again. They should, frankly, win close to 70 games. Like, they should be as good or better than they were last year. And like, if they settle back to 57, 58 wins, frankly, I think that will be a disappointing regular season, assuming reasonable health for them. Because I see people picking Denver and Houston, and, maybe the Cavs or the Knicks can go toe to toe with them. Like, I think all of that is crazy. The Thunder dominated the league last year. Yes, they had the 7-game series with Indiana and Denver where they kicked away a couple games and those series went long. But wire to wire, they were the best team in the league. And to me, they should come into this season, despite every attempt by Sam and the Thunder to say otherwise, as the prohibitive, massive favorites. And to me, there's only one acceptable outcome for them, which is to finally be the first team to win a title in back-to-back years since the Warriors with Durant in 17 and 18. Like, they unless they have injuries, they should beat everybody. They should win again.
And by the way, you mentioned those 7-game series. I was up there for a preseason game to work on a story that'll come out, I think mid-November is when it's scheduled. But anyways, I'm talking to guys about this, and multiple guys, Shea, Caruso, I think a couple other guys, brought up, hey, it ain't like we were, the 2001 Lakers and just cruised to the championship. Like, we got taken to 7 games twice. Like, we're crazy if we don't think there are avenues for improvement. But it's funny because, like, I asked Dagnall, like, okay, 68 wins, a championship. What are you looking to improve? And he gave me such a Dagnall OKC type of answer. We've got to be open-minded. Got to take the feedback from each game. I mean, but
I can hear Mark saying
I can hear Mark saying that too.
Like, we laugh about it. They're not like BSing. Like, they believe all this stuff. They live all this stuff.
Well, I mean, yes and no. They are. There is some BS. Like, but they follow through on a daily basis with this stuff. I know they do. Let me have a little fun with Mark. Like, when Mark got asked before the Thunder Mavs game for some thoughts on Cooper Flagg, and essentially said, "Yeah, I've never seen him play before. I got to watch tonight, and then I'll have a better sense."
Or when I asked him about, okay, hey, and it was just me and him, he kind of evaded a question in the group with about J-Dub's timeline, and I was like, "Are you optimistic about the opener?" And he gave me some nothing answer. And then he goes, "I've been working here for 12 years. Come on."
Exactly right. I wish you would just say it on the record.
Yes, that's right.
Speaking of Jazz,
why they're great.
I believe that Tuesday night, when the Thunder get their banner, we'll be hearing some symphonic rock Round Ball Rock. So we welcome our colleagues at NBC back, and which they'll be broadcasting that game, and we also welcome our new teammates. Bontemps is being hauled away at long last.
I am, yeah, clearly.
Welcome our new teammates with Inside the NBA, which will be debuting with us on ESPN on Wednesday. And with that, we begin a season. My 23rd, MacMahon.
I don't know, because I was like football and basketball for a while, but
just count them all. Count them all.
Man, it's been like I think 18, 19, something like that.
14 for me.
14.
I had to count.
Jackson, was it like 5?
I don't know. I mean, Jackson's I can't hear from Jackson again after this Eric Metcalf thing. It just killed me.
All right. Well, Jackson's going to the Chiefs game on Sunday, so we'll let him get some sleep, get him ready for that. He's a closet Chiefs fan for reasons that we can't discuss.
He's got a buddy there. Jackson's like me. If it's free, it's for me. It's in Jackson.
Yeah, he learned that from watching you.
I don't think I invented that. I think I just fell on.
I think you should get him. I know what you get him for Christmas. A throwback Eric Metcalf number 21 Longhorns jersey.
I'll look for him down in Austin.
All right. Thank you to MacMahon. Thank you to Bontemps. Thank you to Jackson. Thank you for watching, listening to the Hoop Collective. Hey, we'll talk to you after the NBA season kicks off next week.
Adios, amigos.